Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be exploring something.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Really fascinating.
The power of appreciation and kindness. And
I love this topic.
I know.
Oh,
Um, and I'm not just talking about good manners here.
right.
We're going to be uncovering how these simple acts can impact your life, your work, even society as a whole.
Yeah, it's funny how we often take these concepts for granted,
I know.
like they're just niceties. But what's truly captivating is the science behind them. There's a whole world of research showing how appreciation and kindness can literally shape our well-being.
Our main guide for this deep dive is a compelling article from the Affirmationist blog. But I've also brought in some additional research
Oh, nice.
to give you an even richer perspective. Ready to have your mind blown?
Absolutely. I think the article lays a great foundation,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so much more to unpack.
Let's start with the science behind those good vibes we always hear about. The source mentions these neurochemicals,
Okay.
oxytocin,
Hmm.
and dopamine, that get released when we experience or express appreciation and kindness.
Think of it like this. These are the chemicals that make us feel connected, happy, and even euphoric. And get this, research has shown that expressing gratitude can actually lead to higher levels of dopamine.
Wow.
It's like a reward system built right into our brains,
Yeah.
encouraging us to be more appreciative.
So it's not just about fleeting emotions. It's like our brains are wired to seek out and respond to appreciation.
Yeah.
But the article mentions some other pretty amazing benefits too, right?
It does. It highlights how appreciation can lead to increased self-esteem, confidence, and even resilience in the face of challenges. Imagine feeling truly valued at work. The source suggests that this sense of appreciation can lead to greater confidence, which in turn could lead to more risk-taking and innovation.
Okay, so appreciation is good for us on a personal level. But what about kindness? Is there science backing that up too?
Absolutely. In fact, studies have shown a link between kindness and lower blood pressure, reduced inflammation. Some even suggest it boosts your immune system. It's not just about being nice. It's about creating a healthier, happier youth.
It's almost like a superpower. But sometimes I wonder if this is all just theoretical. Have you ever noticed a real difference in your own life when you're actively practicing appreciation and kindness?
Oh, definitely. It's those little things that stand out. Like when a colleague takes the time to genuinely thank you for your work, how good that feels.
Yeah.
It's not just about the words. It's the feeling of being seen and valued. And that feeling can stay with you long after the interaction is over.
Now that we've seen the science behind all this, let's shift gears and explore how appreciation can impact your relationships.
Okay.
I mean, this is where it gets really personal, right?
Absolutely. The article highlights how appreciation and kindness are the bedrock of strong relationships, both personal and professional. These qualities help build trust, make communication smoother, and just create a more positive environment overall.
That makes total sense. When you feel appreciated and treated with kindness, you're naturally going to be more open and trusting.
Right.
But the source takes it a step further, using this interesting phrase, encouraged to thrive. What do you think they mean by that?
I think it speaks to the deeper impact of these qualities. It's not just about avoiding conflict or creating a superficial sense of harmony. It's about creating an environment where people feel safe to be themselves, to express their ideas, and to truly flourish.
So it's about fostering genuine connection and growth. The article mentions families, workplaces, even whole communities. Do you think this encourage to thrive concept applies on that larger scale too?
Absolutely. Imagine a workplace where appreciation is the norm. People feel motivated, valued, and empowered to contribute their best work. Or think about a community where acts of kindness are commonplace. It creates a sense of belonging, fosters cooperation, and ultimately strengthens the entire social fabric.
Okay, so we've seen how appreciation can transform individuals and relationships, but the article also dives into something called affirmations. This is where we can really start to apply all this knowledge, right?
Precisely. Affirmations are these positive statements you repeat to yourself. It might sound a bit strange, but they can have a real impact on how you see yourself and the world around you.
I've heard of those, but I have to admit I'm a bit skeptical. How can simply saying some positive phrases actually make a difference? It seems a little too good to be true.
Well, it's not magic. It's about tapping into the power of our subconscious mind, that part of our brain that runs in the background, influencing our habits, beliefs, and even our self-perception.
That makes sense. It's like, how we learn a new skill, like driving. At first, it takes all our focus, but eventually it becomes almost automatic. Are you saying affirmations can work similarly by rewiring those deep-seated thought patterns?
That's a great analogy. By consistently repeating these positive statements, we're essentially planting seeds in our subconscious, telling ourselves we're worthy, capable, and deserving of good things. And over time, these seeds can take root and begin to blossom. And what's fascinating is that affirmations specifically focused on appreciation and kindness can have a particularly powerful impact.
Okay.
They challenge those negative thoughts we all have, help us focus on the good in ourselves and others, and even encourage us to act more kindly.
So it's like creating a positive spiral, both internally and in our interactions with the world.
Right.
The article does have a whole section on tips for using affirmations effectively, but honestly, it's a bit overwhelming.
Sure.
Could you break down a couple of the key takeaways for our listener?
Absolutely. One of the most important things is to make your affirmations personal and specific.
Okay.
It's not about repeating generic phrases. It's about creating statements that truly resonate with you and your goals.
That makes sense. I remember trying affirmations once and just copying phrases from a book. It felt forced and kind of pointless.
Right. So how can we make them more meaningful?
Well, think about the areas of your life where you'd like to experience more appreciation or kindness. Maybe it's in your relationships, your work, or even your relationship with yourself. Once you've identified those areas, you can craft affirmations that specifically address those desires.
So, for example, if I wanted to cultivate more self-appreciation, I might say something like, I am grateful for my strengths and talents.
Exactly. And notice how you phrased it in the present tense. That's another key tip.
Okay.
It's about claiming those qualities as already existing within you, even if you don't fully believe it yet.
I'm starting to see how this could be really powerful. But the article also emphasizes combining affirmations with action.
Yes.
What do they mean by that?
It's not enough to just say the words. You have to actively look for opportunities to practice what you're affirming.
Okay.
If you're affirming, I am kind and helpful, you'd also be looking for ways to be more helpful in your daily life. It reinforces the affirmation and helps to integrate it into your actual behavior. That makes a lot of sense. It's like if you want to get better at playing the piano, you have to practice, not just think about playing.
Right.
But let's zoom out a bit. The article touches on how appreciating and being kind to others creates a ripple effect. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. It's this incredible phenomenon where one act of kindness or appreciation can inspire others to do the same, spreading positivity and goodwill like wildfire.
I love that image. It reminds me of that story about the woman who paid for the coffee of the person behind her in the drive-thru, and then that person did the same, and so on, creating this chain of kindness that lasted for hours.
That's a perfect example. It shows how even small acts can have a huge impact, not just on the individuals involved, but on the collective energy of a community. And this brings us to another important point. Appreciation and kindness can help bridge divides and foster a stronger sense of community.
You know, in a world that often feels so divided and disconnected, that's a really powerful message. It's like we're all part of this giant web, and our actions, no matter how small, can send ripples throughout that web.
Precisely. And what's amazing is that affirmations can actually enhance this ripple effect. By cultivating a more appreciative and kind mindset within ourselves, we're more likely to radiate those qualities outwards, influencing the people around us and creating a more positive and harmonious world.
I love that thought. So it's not just about personal transformation. It's about contributing to something much larger than ourselves.
Right.
But let's get back to affirmations for a moment. One thing that's always tripped me up is this. If I'm struggling with self-esteem, how can I possibly believe an affirmation like, I am worthy of love and respect, when it feels so far from my current reality?
That's a great question, and it's a common challenge when working with affirmations. The article does mention resistance and disbelief being common, especially when the affirmation feels incongruent with our current beliefs. It's like trying to convince yourself that the sky is green when you clearly see it's blue.
Exactly. So what's the solution? How do we bridge that gap between our current reality and the affirmations we're trying to embody?
Well, there are a couple of approaches you can try. One is to start with affirmations that feel more accessible, that resonate with you on at least some level.
So instead of jumping straight to, I'm confident and successful, you might start with something like, I am open to the possibility of success, or I am learning to believe in myself.
Exactly. It's about meeting yourself where you're at and gradually building up your belief.
Okay.
Another helpful tip is to focus on the feeling behind the affirmation, rather than getting caught up in the words themselves.
Can you give an example of what you mean by that?
Sure. Let's say you're working with the affirmation, I am worthy of love and respect. Instead of just repeating the words, Try to connect with the feeling of being worthy, the feeling of being loved and respected. You might close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and imagine yourself being surrounded by love and support.
So it's about embodying the affirmation, not just intellectually understanding it. I can see how that would make a big difference. But the article also talks about the importance of consistency. Life gets busy, and it's easy to let our affirmation practice fall by the wayside.
It's true, consistency is key. Just like with any new habit, it takes time and effort to make it stick. But the good news is, there are lots of ways to integrate affirmations into your daily routine.
Like what? I'm always looking for practical tips.
Well, one simple strategy is to create a morning ritual around affirmations.
Okay.
Imagine starting each day by looking in the mirror and saying, I am confident and capable, or I am grateful for all the good in my life.
What a powerful way to set the tone for the day. It's like priming your mind for success and positivity.
Exactly. You can also place affirmation reminders in visible locations, like your bathroom mirror, your desk, your fridge. Those little nudges throughout the day can make a big difference.
I love that idea. It's like those sticky notes we used to leave ourselves back in college, but this time it's for something much more meaningful.
Right.
The article also mentions setting reminders on your phone. Do you think that's helpful?
It can be, especially for those of us who are constantly glued to our devices. You could set an alarm to go off a few times a day, reminding you to take a moment to pause and repeat your affirmations. Or you could even create audio recordings of your affirmations and listen to them while you're commuting or exercising.
That's brilliant. It's like having your own personal pep talk on demand. But I think one of the most important takeaways from the article is that affirmations are not a magic cure-all. They're powerful tools, but they work best when combined with conscious effort and action.
Absolutely. You can't just sit around repeating affirmations
Yes.
and expect your life to magically transform. You have to actively participate in the process, be willing to challenge your old patterns, and embrace new ways of thinking and acting.
Right. It's about aligning our thoughts, words, and actions to create a more positive and fulfilling reality. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, negative self-talk can creep in and sabotage our efforts. How do we deal with that inner critic?
That's such a great point. We all have that inner critic to some degree, that voice that whispers doubts and fears. But it's important to remember that we don't have to believe everything it says.
So it's not about silencing it completely. It's about learning to challenge those negative thoughts and replace them with more positive and empowering ones. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a mental tug of war. And we're trying to build up the strength of the positive side. One helpful technique is to simply notice when those negative thoughts arise without judgment. Just acknowledge them.
Okay.
And then gently redirect your focus to your affirmations.
It's like saying, thank you for sharing inner critic, but I'm choosing to focus on these positive affirmations instead.
Right?
But what about when we don't see immediate results? It's easy to get discouraged if we don't experience a sudden transformation overnight.
This is where patience and trust come into play. Remember, we're talking about rewiring deeply ingrained patterns. And that takes time and consistent effort.
It's like planting a seed. You don't see the flower bloom right away. You have to nurture it, water it, and give it time to grow.
Beautifully put.
Mm.
And just like with a seed, even though you might not see immediate results, trust that those affirmations are taking root and working their magic beneath the surface.
You know, that's really encouraging. It's a reminder that transformation is a process, not a destination. And speaking of transformation, the article goes on to explore how appreciation and kindness can be woven into our everyday interactions. This is where it all comes to life.
Right. Absolutely. It's about taking those positive affirmations and translating them into kind words, compassionate actions, and a more supportive and encouraging way of being.
Yeah, okay, I'm all ears. Give us some practical tips for making appreciation and kindness a more natural part of our daily interactions.
Well, it's easier than you might think. It doesn't require grand gestures. It's often the small, seemingly insignificant acts that have the biggest impact.
Like what? I'm all about those practical tips.
Well, think about the last time someone genuinely complimented you. Not just a, you look nice, but something specific, something that made you feel seen. How did that feel?
Actually, now that you mention it, a coworker recently complimented my presentation skills. I'd been feeling nervous about it. And their words really boosted my confidence. It made my whole day.
Exactly. And it probably didn't take them much effort, but the impact was significant. So think about how you can do the same for others. Offer a genuine compliment, express sincere gratitude, or just truly listen with empathy when someone is sharing their heart with you.
It's like those random acts of kindness, but with a focus on appreciation and genuine connection. I love it. The article also talks about using empowering language.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
It's about choosing words that uplift and encourage,
Hmm.
rather than criticize or tear down. For example, instead of saying, that's going to be difficult, you could say, that's a challenge, but I'm confident we can find a solution.
That's such a subtle shift, but I can see how it would make a big difference in how people perceive a situation. It's like you're framing it as an opportunity for growth rather than an obstacle.
Precisely. And remember, this applies to how we talk to ourselves as well. Those affirmations we discussed earlier, they're all about using empowering language to reshape our self-perception and cultivate a more positive inner dialogue.
That's a great reminder. We can't forget about self-kindness. It's just as important as being kind to others.
Absolutely. Treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding you would offer a dear friend. Celebrate your successes, acknowledge your efforts, and forgive yourself when you make mistakes.
You know, it's amazing how everything we've discussed today, appreciation, kindness, affirmations, self-compassion, all seems to be interconnected. It's like they're all threads in the same tapestry, creating this beautiful picture of a more positive and fulfilling life.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it's not just about individual well-being. As we cultivate these qualities within ourselves, they naturally start to ripple outwards, influencing our relationships, our communities, and ultimately the world as a whole.
It's like we're all drops in the same ocean, and our individual actions, no matter how small, contribute to the overall quality of the water.
That's a powerful analogy. And it reminds us that we have a choice. We can choose to be a source of positivity and kindness, or we can choose to contribute to negativity and discord.
It's empowering to realize that we have that power, but let's be honest, it's not always easy to stay positive and kind, especially when we're facing challenges or dealing with difficult people. Any advice on how to navigate those situations?
It's true, life isn't always sunshine and roses. But even in those challenging moments, we can still choose to respond with compassion and understanding.
So it's not about suppressing our emotions or pretending that everything is okay. It's about finding a way to respond in a way that aligns with our values.
Exactly. It might mean setting boundaries with difficult people, taking a step back to calm down when we're feeling overwhelmed, or simply reminding ourselves that everyone is fighting their own battles.
I think the article touches on something really important here. It's that reminder that we're all interconnected, and our actions have an impact on others, whether we realize it or not.
It's like that butterfly effect, where even the smallest flap of a butterfly's wings can create a ripple that travels across the globe. We may never know the full extent of our impact, but we can trust that even the smallest acts of kindness and appreciation can make a difference.
And you know, the article ends with this thought-provoking question. That, I think, sums it all up beautifully. If affirmations can truly rewire our brains for the better, imagine the kind of world we could create if we all made a conscious effort to practice appreciation and kindness every single day.
It's a powerful question that challenges us to consider the possibilities. What if instead of focusing on our differences, we focused on our shared humanity? What if instead of judging and criticizing, we offered understanding and compassion?
What if instead of holding on to anger and resentment, we chose forgiveness and reconciliation? What if instead of competing and comparing, we collaborated and supported each other?
It might sound idealistic, but I truly believe that a world filled with appreciation and kindness is not just a dream, it's a possibility. And it starts with each and every one of us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this invitation. Go out there and be the change you want to see in the world. Express your appreciation, extend your kindness, and watch as those ripples of positivity spread far and wide.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep shining bright.